Jay, Dallas Stars roll in tonight. Maybe a nice blend of veterans with lots of experience, but some pretty good young talent too. Just your thoughts on the different challenges they provide you?
Yeah, before I begin, Ryan, I just want to acknowledge our two fallen police officers, obviously Constable Jordan, Constable Ryan. Their families are in the hearts and minds of everyone involved with the Edmonton Oilers organization. Very tough morning for our group. Tough morning for the city of Edmonton, and as I said, our thoughts and prayers are with them. You asked about the Dallas Stars. Obviously, a well-coached, well-put-together group, a team that plays with a measure of physicality to them. They can come at you in different ways. They're a pressure-based forecheck. They have speed and skill. They have people that can score goals, but they defend hard as well. They're a very, very good challenge for us tonight.
The times this season where your group is challenged physically, certain teams will do that in a different way. How have you seen kind of the evolution of your team that way, and where do you think you sit right now?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to find out where we sit after the game tonight, because this is it's not going to be a stick-checking type of night here. This is the type of game where you're going to have to chip bodies. You're going to have to play inside people's equipment. You're going to have to go to hard areas to find success. Throughout the year, I think we've risen to that occasion on numerous times, but we're going to have to do it against a really well-coached group here in the Dallas Stars tonight.
How important does quick and clean zone exits become in a game where the Stars are going to expect it to forecheck very heavy?
Yeah, well, I think we're at our best, and we're at the top of the league when it comes to breakout execution, but we're at our best when we're five-man clean exit team. I think it does a few things. Number one, it sets us up to come at teams with speed and put other teams on their heels. And number two, it means the cleaner you are at breaking out, the more efficient you are at breaking out, the less time you spend in your own zone. Hi.
Matthias Ekholm's transition here seems seamless, and I guess maybe you can expect that from a veteran, but just want to ask you about the influence he's had on Evan Bouchard, and just basically the rest of your back end, and just having his calmness and presence back there.
Yeah, I don't even think it's from the throat right now. It's by example. And I think the more and more he feels comfortable, the more and more he will be comfortable in terms of leading with his voice as well. But I think when you see how Matthias conducts himself on a daily basis, it's very impressive. He does everything hard. There's nothing soft about him. He practices hard. He prepares the right way. He goes into battles hard. I just think it's a great example for not only our younger D, but for our team in general. If you looked up his playoff experience, you'd see that he leads us in playoff games. So I think those are lessons he's learned along his journey in Nashville and the amount of playoff games that he played. And as we work our way down the stretch and towards Game 83, that experience will be invaluable.
And just a quick thought on Zach Hyman. He was out there today. Does he look good to go today, or is that?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't gone in to talk with our training staff or our doctors just yet. But for me, he's skated the past 2 days, and I think that's a good sign.
Jay, when you look at the numbers just on the surface, your goals for in the first 38, the last 30 have gone up significantly. Your goals against in the first 38, identical to your last 30. If you look at your underlying numbers, have you seen the improvement that you would like defensively in your goals against, or what are the areas to improve to get that number down?
Not yet consistently enough. I think we'd be the first ones to say we're not a finished product. We're a work in progress right now. I think the big thing for us since Christmas time would be the team record, and I think it's 19 wins, 2 losses in regulation, and 3 overtime or shootout losses. 19, 2, and 3 when we give up 3 or less goals. Forget underlying numbers. Those are obvious things that say when we play towards a certain identity, when we play towards a certain template, more often than not, we have success. I would point to the fact that I think we lead the Western Conference in regulation wins by a good margin. So for me, when we're playing the game the right way, we give ourselves that chance to win, and that starts on the defensive side.
So on that note, you mentioned the regulation wins. Dallas gets to overtime a ton. You guys have been there 10 times, and despite being the number one offense, you've only scored twice in 10 overtime periods.
Yeah.
When you go back and look, it seems like an anomaly. Everybody sees the talent, says, why can't they score? What have you seen in the 3-on-3 that you would like to improve if you get there?
Yeah, it's not that we didn't have the chances to win those games, and we didn't lose them all either. We lost a couple in the shootouts as well. I would say, sometimes the other team does some good things as well. What am I seeing? I'm seeing overtimes as being very well coached. Teams are looking for certain things. We've made adjustments. But in the end, as a coaching staff, we want to know that we're creating opportunities and have the chance to win. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Jay, what was it like playing for current Stars assistant coach Steve Spott when he was your head coach, when you were lighting it up in Markham in 1996?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I've known Spotter for a long time. I got to know him. He's a year older than my oldest brother, and so he was a fixture in the Toronto community. He was a really good player in his own right, and he ended up going to Colgate University. My brother went to Colgate University. So I've known him since I was a young kid. Before I was 10 years old, I knew Spotter. I got to see how he operated as a player, and he was a really funny person. He was an instructor of mine at hockey school. Eventually, when he stopped playing, he took over the Seneca College Hockey School, where I first began to work and become a coach. And then, when he started his coaching career, he coached 1 year at Seneca College, 1 year at Markham with me, and then he moved on to the Ontario Hockey League to work with Pete DeBoer, who he works with now. I thought Spotter was somebody who thought the game very well offensively. He was always very well prepared, and he attacked every day with a great sense of humor. He made it fun to go to the rink.
How much of an influence would you say he's had on you for your coaching career? And would you say you've taken a little bit of pieces of little guys or little from other guys over the years to be who you are now?
Yeah, certainly. For me, because I've known Spotter since I was a young man, his influence on me is huge, as is, I'd say the biggest influences on me are my parents, then my brothers, professionally speaking, and then, to see Steve and how he operated and some of the other coaches I've had along the way, including Mark Reeds, who's passed on, and then, to work for some of the head coaches that I've worked for in the NHL, and Mike Babcock and Todd McClellan. Those types of guys, they all leave a little imprint on you in terms of what they felt was most important and what I took from them. Steve is no different. He's a quality coach in his own right. He, ironically enough, went into San Jose after Todd and I had left and come to Edmonton. He's got a real strong friendship with Pete DeBoer, but I know this from experience. A coach like Pete DeBoer doesn't have you on his staff unless you have something to offer and unless you're continually pushing the envelope. Steve Spott's a very good coach.
So you you've had a really good record since Christmas. You guys have, not perfect,
Yep.
be better, but pretty good. But you've been in the same spot in the Pacific without barely moving for 4 months.
Yeah.
Back first place, it's getting further away, not closer. How do you sort of reconcile with the fact that you play good hockey and the progress isn't there in the standings? How does that work?
Well, I think our first goal on the season is to make the playoffs. So we have to continue to gather points so that we put ourselves into a position to make the playoffs. I think we want to be playing our best hockey come April. And I think, over the last few years, the NHL playoffs have proven that regardless of where you finish in the regular season standings, There's things that go into playoff success. And for us, our template and how we play the game and making sure we're playing to our fullest potential, if we take care of those things, the other stuff takes care of itself. But again, I'd go back to, we just want to make the playoffs, and we'll let things sort themselves out from there.
Last one for me.
Yep.
It was announced that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to be a father. You've had, you got Nuge, you've had Brett Kulak, Darnell Nurse, a bunch of younger guys now having kids. What's the difference having a team? This was an organization that used to be really young.
Yeah.
Now you've got some fathers, you've got some families, they're growing up around here. What difference does that make when it comes to building a team?
Yeah. For Nuge, he's barely shaving, and now he's becoming a father, right? It shows you as a coach the passage of time when you start seeing, I'd even bring it farther back. We're seeing people get engaged, get married, now having children. It puts things in perspective, first off. Where we're at as a team, I think we are getting into that spot where you're seeing more 27 to 32-year-olds. It's people coming into their prime, not only on the ice, but off the ice. Super happy when I learned the news for Nuge. I think, as I said, I think it just puts life into perspective when you think about it. But as you mentioned, it puts into perspective where our team's at in our evolutionary stage.
Just on Skinner.
Yep.
Looks like another start for him here. What are you seeing in his game, kind of his ability to smooth out the bumpy parts and find that consistency that you want from a regular guy?
Yeah, he, you know what, I think he gives us a chance to win every time he goes in the net. He's learning what it takes to handle a heavy workload in the National Hockey League. He's got that experience in the American League, but he's learning it in the NHL. And, I just think that, heading into games, you know what you're getting. And he's somebody who is, I see improvement from where he was at the start of the year to where he is now. As I said, I think he gives us a good chance to win.